I don't want a child to come into this world unless it is so wanted and so cherished.
So many
If the parents are even questioning,
what about all the families that want to adopt?
Just let me finish. If the parents are even questioning, should we have it? Abort.
What's going on, everyone? James Klug here. Welcome back to another Face-to-Face. Today we're in Washington, D.C., right out front of the Supreme Court. We're going to be asking people what they think about women who supported the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And for those that have a problem with that idea, I'm going to bring them face-to-face with my good friend, Lisa Reynolds. Lisa, thanks for joining me today. You ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready to go. I want to say it, though.
Go for it.
Let's go talk to some people.
Huge shout out to our friends over at My Patriot Supply for sponsoring this video. Why are we seeing women celebrating the overturning of Roe versus Wade? In your opinion?
I don't necessarily think it's that part of it's a woman issue as much as it's just celebrating a life issue.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
I think that they're coming at it from a religious standpoint.
Religious?
Exactly. Versus, oh God, I don't believe in God, okay, so I instead use common sense.
I just want to make sure there's no lightning bolts
No,
that strike you.
You can be pro-life and not be anti-abortion.
The women that supported it, what are your guys' thoughts about them?
That supported overturning. I think they're misguided.
If they don't want to have an abortion, then they don't have to have one. But those that need it or those that require it, it's a personal choice.
I want your opinion on the women that supported the overturning of Roe versus Wade. What's going on there, in your opinion? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them?
I'm pro-life.
You're pro-life?
Yeah.
That actually were in favor of the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
I'm in favor of it.
You're in favor. What are your thoughts on?
I'm unimpressed. I mean, I could be mean, but I don't.
No,
they
it's
have
a very polite way of putting it.
They have the right to do it.
Of course.
If my daughter were there, I'd have. I'm just grateful she's not there.
I think it has to come from a lack of education, because there are so many women that abortions and that medical procedure are saving lives.
Is that something that you've seen that's common when it comes to women celebrating the overturning of Roe versus Wade? You're obviously one of them then, huh? Is that correct?
I am, and I think it depends on where you're asking that question. I mean, if you're asking the question right here in D.C., you're gonna get a different answer than you do in some small town. Yeah.
There is obviously here at the Supreme Court, it's going to tip one way for sure. Mm-hmm. But there is a fair balance of people being pro-life and pro-choice in D.C. for sure.
Good.
Miss, really quick question for you.
Okay.
Being a woman that is pro-life here in D.C., it sounds like you're visiting. But are you visiting?
I'm visiting.
I might like a little bit
So,
like a tourist.
right. I like that. But protesting the fact that Roe versus Wade was overturned, what are your thoughts on the pro-abortion people here?
I think everyone has a right to speak their opinion. So they have every right, just like anyone else does, to stand there and protest.
What happened Friday was legendary and landmark and momentous and huge and awesome and step in the right direction. There's a long way to go. But yeah, put the pressure on the states, and then people can choose what state they want to live in.
Lisa right here, a good friend of mine. Lisa is actually one of the women that is against Roe versus Wade. She wanted it overturned. She's pro-life. All right, everyone, let's take a quick moment to talk about today's sponsor. I try my best to partner with companies that have an excellent product or service, and I've got a great one here. With everything happening right now, you're gonna want backup food in case things get even worse. And trust me, anything is possible. So ask yourself, do you have at least 3 months worth of meals on hand? If not, go to preparewithklug.com and you'll get an instant $150 savings on a 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest and most trusted preparedness company. This kit has literally everything you need: breakfast, lunch, dinners, drinks, and snacks for 3 solid months per person. And it provides over 2,000 calories a day for sustainable energy in tough times. The only thing worse than dealing with an emergency is dealing with an emergency with no food. Go to preparewithklug.com and grab your emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. Don't wait, protect yourself now. Go to preparewithklug.com and you'll save $150 on each 3-month kit you need. That's preparewithklug.com. Let's get back into the video. Mr. Ron was saying, he believes that a lot of the women in that pro-life kind of field would be coming at it from a religious perspective. What do you think about that? Do you
versus medical, all those kinds
versus
of things.
scientific
or just medical? I mean,
Mine's more, I think, philosophical. You know, as somebody who studied politics and things like that, I believe that the government's role is to protect life. Like, that's their primary goal, is to make sure that you and I can live in society, not have anybody hit us over our head, take our things. You know, that is their primary goal. And because biologically I can't determine when, you know, I think it becomes life at conception, but I believe that from a scientific point, because I can't just pick an arbitrary date where, okay, now it's a life and now it's not. So say we pick 15 weeks, it's not, you know, 14 and a half. I don't see I can't distinguish it there. So I'm trying to think, if the government's role is to protect life, and we can't just pick some arbitrary number, then we have to be consistent with that and protect life at all costs.
So what are your thoughts about that? What do you think
I
about
totally
that?
understand where she's coming from, but I think that we're not taking it a little bit further. We're looking at it as just saving life. And if you look at it that it's a life as soon as it's, you know, the sperm touches the egg, you are more than entitled to believe that and act accordingly. This is the it's now the States of America. I don't call it the United States anymore. But
I feel that. I don't feel united either. So
I know, exactly, and it's sad. We're not thinking of the child that's born. We're thinking of, okay, save a life. Okay, what if it's a crack baby? Would you adopt a crack baby?
100%. Do you know how many people
Do you
are
know
waiting?
how many people would not do that?
Wait, listen.
You
For
see?
every baby born, real quick, every baby born right now, there's 36 families waiting to adopt them, and any kind, Down syndrome babies, crack babies. It happens all the time. So that argument to me says, okay, so say a kid is in a crack family home now, and it's a year and a half, and it's living a horrible life, and it's being beat and all those things, that we should probably just kill it, because then that would be better for them in the long run. That's the same argument, and that's not true.
I believe that.
You believe that? You believe
It
that
would be better to not have never been born. Absolutely, I believe that.
Well, what about all the kids that were born to like crackhead parents that grew up to be something fantastic and have changed the world?
What's the percentage?
It doesn't matter.
To me it does. If it's 1 out of 1,000, are you tripping?
Really?
Absolutely.
I am shocked right now.
I
honestly
am shocked too.
Could you expand on that a little bit for Lisa, somebody that does support the overturning of Roe versus Wade?
Well, I just believe it's my body, my choice.
Those that agree with overturning Roe versus Wade are probably the same ones that are for or against gun control. You know, so if we're going to save lives in one aspect, in one respect, we need to save lives in all respects.
Lisa, what are your thoughts on that?
So, I mean, Roe versus Wade is not saying that abortion is illegal across the land. It's just bringing it back to states. The individual states get to decide if it's appropriate or not.
They were saying maybe it has to do with, abortion, you're saying, saves lives, you're saying. Another point was, I don't know, perhaps maybe a little bit uneducated on the topic. Would you like to expand on that?
There are plenty of women whose lives do get saved from DNC, and like the women they won't be able to survive a pregnancy, or the children who will be stillborn or could maybe survive a year or two. It's not really fair to bring those children into the world just for them to suffer.
The children that could be there for a year or two, I mean, there's plenty of children that are born with terminal diseases. Once they're born, do you think that we should just kill them? Is that the argument there?
If there's a way to prevent suffering before the child is ever born, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't do that.
But because there's also great moments in life that also come along with suffering. I mean, there's plenty of people that are born with very terrible diseases, but they get to enjoy life and seeing the sun and the stars and the birds and knowing their mother's love. Like that is just as important as any suffering that anybody might experience.
Do you have a problem necessarily with the bringing it back to the states, so on a local level people can vote for what they want in that state, such as New York does what New York wants to do, Texas does what Texas wants to do? Do you guys support that idea?
No.
No?
How come?
And the only reason I don't support, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The only reason I don't support that idea is the fact that even in those states that want to ban abortion, there are still women there that have a right to choose. And so now, if they ban it, then most they won't have the opportunity, especially women of color, especially women in the margins, women who can't afford to hop on a plane and go to a state that legalizes it. And so we put them at a disadvantage. We put them in places where...
Like a financial disadvantage, you're saying?
Financial disadvantage, and we also put them in a space where they are not able to choose.
I think it's more like, for me, it's a personal level. Everybody should have the option to choose. I don't think there should be ever a kind of law that's deciding what I should do with my body or what somebody else should be doing with their body.
So you don't think it's a body inside your body? Like when a woman's pregnant, do you say she has 4 arms or 2 hearts? No, you say that, she has a baby inside her that has its own heart and its own arms and legs. She doesn't all of a sudden have 4 arms. It's a body inside a body, right? So what are we doing about that body, that person that's in there?
They're not a person yet.
Biologically, no. I mean, all laws, even before Roe v. Wade were overturned, a lot of laws already put a limit on when the abortions were allowed. Roe v. Wade brought in a trimester system where states got in individual privileges as they went down. So the longer into the pregnancy, the more it became the state's choices over the individual person's choices. And removing the ability for an individual person to have their opinion matter more than some random person in a governmental house in those first very critical months of a pregnancy. Losing that, I think, is the real issue over everything else.
But you're really not losing that. I mean, right now in states like New York, I mean, abortion's legal still and will always be up to 9 months. I mean, in other places it won't be. So
I think you're losing the point on the fact that we're not talking about just New York here. We're talking about states where some women who aren't represented by their government and need that choice are just not being represented. And even though before...
Could you say the same thing about the people that were pro-choice? Pro-life. Like, they weren't being represented. Didn't you say the same thing? For the person that's not getting their way?
They don't have to have an abortion themselves. Why do they have to care about what some random person feels? It's not their business.
It's the government's responsibility to have not have an objective morality or subjective morality. So say that I had a homeless person out front of my house. A homeless person out front. No, what about the life inside a mother, right? What about their choice to live and what about their freedoms and their everything, their soul, their being?
What do you think?
I get that. I absolutely get that. That's not, for most women, an easy decision to come to. It's one that they labor over. It's one that they think about. And so it's not a trivial issue. It's not a trivial concern and something that they just do, and I firmly believe that it's between a woman and her God.
I think that the God issue is interesting. When we have a I think there needs to be some universal morality, though. If I said, there's a homeless guy outside of my house and he's shooting up heroin and I don't want my kids to see that. He's a nuisance to me. I can shoot him. That's my morality. That's between me and my God. That would be the same argument. It's still a human life. It's still a human being. That would be unacceptable. There has to be some universal morality there that says, no, we have to protect these lives. And here's the other thing. When we have women that, it's hard and they make these hard choices and they don't want to make them, there are other options. There's 36 people for every child that's waiting to be adopted. Not only that, they'll pay for their entire cost of all their medical expenses. And then even if the mother changes her mind on the day the baby's born, they still cover the cost. She doesn't have to pay it back. There's so many options out there for women that I don't understand why killing a human life has to be the only way to go and a decision between a woman and her God. We're all God's creatures, and we just can't. And just because a kid's going to have a hard life or a troubled life or a rough life doesn't mean that we should kill it. We don't do that to babies that are 6 months old that are struggling. No, we should gather our communities together and support those babies and those people.
Do that after the child is
But so
born.
even-
That's the issue. We don't do
Kill
that.
it, though. Wouldn't you rather be alive?
You keep saying that we kill them. What about the issue of when does life begin? Because, right, that's your view. That's your morality.
Science's view.
But that's your morality. No.
Yes, it's actually scientifically proven. Because when do you think life begins?
I haven't I haven't.
They can't find an arbitrary date. See,
They can't find an arbitrary date, and you can't either. And so you can't tell me that it begins at conception.
it does when the sperm meets the egg and it creates its own human genetic code. That is when it becomes.
You don't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're saying
They
they
just
giving
said
mixed
it.
messages. You said they
Is
can't come
that
to
is
a
that
date.
complex scientific like conversation right now? A debate going between that,
Well,
or is that an objective truth?
If it's not proven, then we can't.
That's not proven?
I mean, people
It
on
hasn't
both
been
sides.
proven. There's
It's on
yes.
both sides.
And just like you could find a scientist that will say
Yeah, you
that,
got
you
a
could also
scientist on
find
the
one on
other
the other side
side.
that will not say that.
Hey, can I get your thoughts? There's a lot of pro-abortion protesters over there right in front of the Supreme Court. Can I get your thoughts on that group? I mean, it's a bunch of women. What's going through their heads? What's going on?
Oh, they're just like postmodern Marxists and, it's my truth and there's no objective morality and we can kill whatever we want and death, death, death and satanic, me. Like,
No, I just got out of jail actually.
You just got out of jail?
Yeah.
Should I be worried?
No, nonviolent civil disobedience on
Okay.
Roe versus Wade.
Oh, okay. So you're very passionate about this topic then.
Yeah, I just got
Are
off of a bridge.
Off of a bridge.
Yeah.
Right on. Overturning Roe versus Wade. Give me your thoughts.
Sure. Well, I've come at the perspective that we need to organize mass civil resistance to force the government to respect the will of the people, which is either remove the traitors on the Supreme Court and or codify the protections which were formerly granted by Roe.
Now, my question is, we've seen pro-choice and pro-life protesters this week, okay?
Sure.
We're talking about pro-life women that are cheering on the overturning of Roe versus Wade. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a small minority of the country. And really, from the standpoint of social change, you don't have to worry about them. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm worried about the women that are going to be suffering under the new regime. 60 million women have just lost the right to control their own bodies. And some of them are going to die. All these red states, they're human rights violators. And they're run by these cruel and violent men.
What about people that can't afford to have a kid and they keep the kid?
adopt
Let me
it.
finish. If they don't want it, once they've had it and they can't adopt it,
Why
they
can't
just
they
can't
adopt it?
emotionally. They've adopted, they've all of a sudden, they have other children. She didn't want this child, but she couldn't get an abortion, so now she has this child. She's not going to give that child up because she has all these others. Now, chances are if she has a lot of others, she's on welfare. So now we have another child on welfare. So now, if he's raised in welfare, is this going to start another? I have people that live downstairs from me. It's a dynasty of welfare.
Is
Three
poverty
generations.
is being poor a reason to end the life there? Is that
Well, no,
do we
but
want
I-
to?
okay,
Is that the
but
point we want to make here?
Well, not necessarily that,
Okay.
but when you're poor, your quality of life is not as good, and that's a fact.
But-
Your nutrition, can you afford nutrition when you're poor? No, you can't. Come on, man. If you're not on a farm, have you been to Whole Foods? Give me a f***ing break.
Lisa, can you cruise on over here? Yeah. Lisa is actually one of the women that supports the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Now, he was saying that it's going to get women killed. Could you maybe expand on that a little bit for Lisa, somebody that supports the overturning of Roe versus Wade?
Women are going to die because of this.
How?
Okay, so all you got to do is look at the countries where it's already been made illegal, right? So in Poland, there was a woman. They just made the New York Times article. There's a woman who had cancer, and she had a fetus inside of her, and the doctors would not give her chemotherapy drugs because they're afraid of being put in jail for injuring the fetus. She died of cancer.
We don't live
The
in
fetus
Poland.
died also. No, but we live in. I'm talking about the red states have the same legal regime that this women's under.
They don't
No
have
exceptions.
the same legal regime as Poland. I promise you that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. There are states that have no exceptions for the life of the or health of the mother.
There is no actual reason to abort a fetus for the life of a mother medically. It's just it's a fallacy.
Do you understand what I just said?
Yes, I
The
understand.
woman was denied cancer treatment.
Correct.
because it had nothing to do with aborting the fetus.
Most pro-life people here would prioritize giving the mother cancer treatment before they would prioritize.
I know probably most would, and that's a valuable perspective. But unfortunately, that's not the way the laws are written, and that's not
the way the laws are written. They don't say don't treat the mother. There's no laws that say do not treat the mother ever. Not here.
There's nothing stopping them from doing that.
No,
now there's nothing stopping
that's what state legislatures are for, to stop them from doing that.
Can we clarify what state we're talking about, just so we're
None.
maybe...
He's using Poland as the example for what could happen here.
That's where we're going. It's happening in this state, though.
I just cannot believe that you think that you'd rather kill babies than have them be
You see,
poor.
that's how you look at it, as killing babies. I don't look at it like that.
You said that for an infant. You said that for an infant. You said that was okay too.
I did not say that.
As
a live child?
Yeah, that's what I said to you.
No, I did not. No. I meant in the womb, once it's alive. No. I don't want a child to come into this world unless it is so wanted and so cherished. If the parents are even questioning...
What about all the families that want to adopt?
Just let me finish. If the parents are even questioning, should we have it? Abort. Wow. That's what I think.
Haven't you seen the
teenage pregnancies, we have the highest in the world in
and
the
there are
developed
so many babies
countries.
That are loved
And why is that?
pregnancies.
Because of ignorance.
My friend right now who's thriving and super successful, her parents were teenage parents, but not even that. There's rape victims that keep their babies and they go on to do wonderful
example.
things.
It's like people that like Trump. I mean, you pick one thing. Well, I know somebody.
But Mom's saying, if you ask almost anybody, like alive, any alive person, fine. But if you ask anybody, would you rather have been born or not born? Are you happy that you're alive? Most people would say, yes, I don't wish that I was aborted. Nobody wants...
Now that, I can't say pro or con to that because I really don't know the answer to that.
What state specifically are you speaking about that has that?
Yeah. All of the red states have the potential to do that now. Now that Roe versus Wade... Oh, they absolutely will.
No,
a woman was already charged with murder for having a miscarriage in Texas, and the whole thing was walked back because it was absurd. But I guarantee you there's going to be women charged with murder for having miscarriages.
There has been cases.
There will be convictions, and there will be women jailed.
Not for miscarriages, for actually like ingesting.
I'm sure for miscarriages. I'm sure it will. Because
it depends on how it depends on how the miscarriage is. Once they have the fetus that's taken out of the body after a miscarriage, they do autopsies, and they can find out if it's drug induced or violent induced or if it's the mother induced it. Don't you think that it should be a states' rights issue?
No, absolutely not. It's a human rights issue because women have the right to control their own bodies.
But it's not their body. It's a body inside of a body.
No, it's their body.
No, it's not actually. It's not a parasite.
Agree to disagree.
So when a woman's pregnant, do you say that she has 4 arms?
It's her body.
No, it's not. It's inside her body.
She has the right to control any medical or reproductive decisions to do with her body.
But that's a separate body. That's the government's role to protect life.
It's not a human being.
It is a human being. When do you think it's a human being?
After birth.
So you're okay with abortion up to 9 months?
Sure.
Even though that baby at any minute, when its head is halfway out the birth canal and doesn't take its first breath, it's still a living being, organism completely separate of its mother.
For sure.
That is wild.
All right, everyone, that is it for today. Let me know what you guys thought about these conversations in the comment section below. Lisa, thanks for joining me today. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Sleepy Charlie at Twitter. Lisa Elizabeth.
Awesome. You guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that bell notification button so you're notified next time we post. We'll see you next time. Can you please give us your thoughts? That's good stuff.